Hello, this building behind me is the venue of the Museu del Càntir d'Argentona. That means the Museum of the Water Jug Vessels. And why we have this museum in Argentona, it's a long story. In fact, the museum was inaugurated in 1975 in another building that is also in this square in Argentona. But in 2000 we moved to this new building. But why there is a water jugs museum just in Argentona, where we have not a traditional pottery or something like this? In fact, it was because an epidemic that happens here in Catalonia in the middle of 17th century, it affected all the territory. And the cause of this disease was inside the water. And then the people of that time in Argentina protected the water with the help of Saint Dominicos. And it happened that the miracle occurred. It happened, the miracle, because there were no dead people in Argentina during this epidemic. And people thought this was because Saint Dominicos helped them. And after this, every year on 4th August, we are going to the fountains of water of our city, of our village of Argentona, to benedict the waters and put the water inside of one of these water vessels for water and drink with them. Because people thought that this water can help you to create the diseases, and this is the origin of our museum that we are going to visit just now. We are now in the ground floor of the museum, where there is the hall, reception, and also the temporary exhibition room, where we show exhibitions of different artists, of different techniques. And also we have the shop of the museum, the store, and we have here all the water vessels that we edited every year for the Saint Dominicos Day during the Festival Càntir. They are old models, but last years we transformed these old models in some new models, charging them to different designers. And we can see this one with red and black, the other one designed by Miguel Milán, the other one that is Kim Larrea, and this one that is made by André Ricard. The museum depends on the city council, but it is managed by a board that is called Patronat Municipal del Museu del Càntir, and we also have the aid of the friends of the museum. They help us and volunteer and other cultural activities. Without water, it doesn't exist alive. This is the first sentence of our visit in the permanent exhibition of the Museu del Càntir, that is this museum dedicated to water vessels. And these water vessels are absolutely necessary for the life, and they are also related to cultures and also related to territories. From Europe, we have some interesting vessels, like those that are open on the upper side, but others that are closed in the upper side, like our cantis, with a handle and two spouts. Then we have some interesting vessels also from Asia, this one from China, and others coming from other countries from Asia, like India and other. Then we have from Africa some interesting also vessels. This one from Ethiopia, made of leather, and the other one that came from Zaire, that is made from a pumpkin. Then we have also other vessels made of ceramics, like this one from Egypt and other from Morocco, very similar to those from Spain. From America, we have also very interesting vessels that are made of black pottery. They come from Peru, cultures Mochica and Chimú. all them are pre-Columbian vessels. And we have other examples from other countries with very different shapes and very different precedents like Colombia, etc. In order to close this part, we can explain that in our culture we are using a lot of water vessels made of plastic. From the Museum del Càntir of Argentona, we think that we should return to vessels made of clay because they are much more respectful for our environment and also our planet. This is what we think about this. Please use other vessels made of clay but not plastics. In this second part of our visit in the museum, we are going to study the morphologies, that is the relation between the shape and the function of the water vessels. The first one is this called cántaros in Spanish, cantars in Catalan. They are a big piece with a neck in the upper side and one or two handles beside. Then we have the same shape but in a smaller dimension, that is cantarillas, cantaretas. And they have a small spout in order that you can drink water in a certain distance. We have also the pilgrim in order that you can have the water with you. Then we have other vessels like these poals, the other that we have from the area, from the Pyrenees, called pedarra in the Basque area, or in Catalonia we have this that is called doll de Cadaqués. We have also these vessels in order you can wash your hands, called aguamaniles in Spanish. And also we have these càntirs, botijos in Spanish. We have two types of them. It depends on the precedence and the situation of the handle. The càntirs from Catalonia have the handle in the line of the two spouts, but the càntirs of the rest of Spain has the handle crossed in the line of the two spouts. This is an important difference, and from now we are going only to center our visit in càntirs. This third part of our visit in the museum is completely dedicated to the history of the càntir, that is our water vessel. In fact, it's a very, very old history, and our first pieces come from the Bronze Age, and they are very small pieces used for funerary ceremonies, so it's not for drinking water. And we have pieces from the eastern area of Mediterranean, and then the Greek sailors come from western part of the Mediterranean with their pieces. In fact, in the 4th and 3rd century before Christ, we find them in South Italy and also Sicily, that is called the Magna Graecia. In Catalonia, the oldest pieces are from Iberian producers in black pottery. Then, in Roman times, the càntirs completely disappeared, but we recover this shape in 14th, 15th century in the medieval age. The question is if they are or not related to the càntirs from antiquity. But in fact, they survive until nowadays in the same places of production like Barcelona, La Bisbal and Verdú. And in 7th and 18th century, we find these pieces in different shapes for different uses. And this history will continue in 19th and 20th century. In the 19th century, we find a new kind of càntirs or botijos because there appeared some pieces with ideological message, like this one, Isabelin from La Bisbal, or this one, Catalanist in black pottery, also from La Bisbal. Also in Catalonia, we find this Art Nouveau style pieces, like those we have here in our museum. At the beginning of 20th century, we find Càntirs everywhere in Western Mediterranean, like Iberian Peninsula, also in South France, also in Italy, and also in North Africa. But this was followed for the disapparition of this type of piece. Why? Because we have water at home. We don't need to have Càntir in order to go to the fountain. Also, we have metal, plastics, and other materials. And finally, we use refrigerators, so we don't need to refrigerate the water without Càntirs. And this is the reason that many potters produced Càntirs for decoration only, like those we can see here. And finally, it appears also collectors and museums dedicated to protect this heritage for the following generations in Spain and other countries. In this fourth section of our museum, we're going to study the typologies of water vessels. And we have more than 30 different typologies. The first one is the larger one, and they are the larger vessels for containing water for the farmer works. They are followed by the oil vessels. And then we can see that they are very large and they are for containing oil. Very similar to those that are for storage water at home. But the most common vessels are those. They are middle-sized, and the main characteristic is that they are unglazed or only partially unglazed, only on the upper side. This is in order they can refresh the water inside by transpiration. We have a lot of them, different sizes, different colors, because clay comes from each territory. So we have darker, clearer, and different small shapes. Finally, we have the winter vessels. They are completely glazed and they cannot refresh water inside. That is because they were used commonly in winter times. Following to typologies, we're going to see those that are for boats, for sailors. We also have this for farmer works. They are protected, or those that pilgrim shape. Also, we have those that are for refrigerator. They are really small in order to pass in the shelves of the refrigerator, or those that have round shape. They are called also annular. That is for children, they are small. And also those that are for watering plants. Those that are on a feet, so they are really nice. And those that are for joking. You can fill in from this hole and then you can drink only one of these, because only one of these runs. Human shape, they are called also anthropomorph, and those that are zoomorphic, like this, like a chicken, horse, or bull. We have also a lot made of metal, like those that we have here, and also some made of wood, like this one, and this one. They have the shape of a trunk. And finally, those that are made of cork. Some of most interesting typologies are those for decorative and artistic purpose, like those that are tower-shaped, those that are bell tower, and those that are for the baptism ceremony. We have also those that are Valencian vessels. They are really colored. And we have also artistic vessels, like those for Art Nouveau times, those that are Noucentisme times, and those that are from artists of 20th century. One of the most interesting typologies are the vessels made of glass, blowed glass. We have them from 18th century until 20th century. At the beginning of the 20th century, most of them were decorated, painted by great artists. This fifth section of our museum is focused on the process of making the clay. And this means the first part of the process to prepare the clay in order we can shape this clay in order to obtain the piece desired. The third part of this process is decorating this piece with different techniques. Behind me we can find a typical workshop with the potter's wheel, like this. And the last part of the process is firing this piece. We used to do this in a kiln with wood, but nowadays they use gas kilns or electrical kilns. And last is the selling of this piece in different market fairs everywhere in the world. The last section of the museum is the Picasso space, because the museum has 4 water vessels made by Picasso. There are 4 pieces, 2 shaped of a head, one of the head of a woman, another one is the head of a man, the other one is a bird, and finally one fish. Picasso made ceramics mostly from 1946 to 1952 in Vallauris, in South France. Picasso went to South France and he discovered this city, Vallauris, typical and traditional for ceramics. And he worked in Madoura pottery, making ceramics. But the intervention of Picasso was mostly in depicting them, not shaping those pieces, as we can see in this picture. Well, thank you very much for following us in this visit in our museum. We hope you enjoyed it, and also we can come here very soon in Argentona to visit this museum personally.